if there's a mathematician part of the team who understands the algorithm, then going viral can be done 100%. There are different interpretations of what going viral means. I think for most people, it's a statistic. It comes down to metrics of how many numbers a view or a group has received, and such things can be gained. And to me, this speaks to the dark side of our industry that is never represented at panels, which is the black marketer in the sense of the black market, who breaks the law, who uses unscrupulous tactics to get you Twitter followers, to get you Facebook friends, to get you YouTube views. And that industry is booming and continues to boom, partly because there's lots of bad money to be thrown around. But it does, I think, speak to the mathematical reality that the system can be hacked, that the game can be manipulated. And we, I think, have a responsibility, and this perhaps speaks more closely to what was trying to be got at the question, to educate our clients about ethics, to educate our clients about responsible use, so that they recognize that you can't buy something viral if you follow the rules. If you want to game the system and manipulate the rules, yes, you can. And what worries me is that that reality may allow illicit firms to continue to rise because they can answer the question yes when the client says, can you guarantee me a viral X, Y, or Z?
Well, then you have to ask them to what end. Is it just to be able to say something went viral? Or, are you pushing some of the key metrics? Are you driving sales, awareness? If it's just to be there in 2010, I think they've got to reevaluate what they believe social media to be.
But like Pfizer's a great example, right? Because they faced, I believe it was close to $1 billion fine for illegal marketing practices. And even then, that was only a sliver of what we all see in our spam boxes that promote one of their favorite pharmaceutical products. And we laugh, but if you follow the money, right, there has to be a connection between all the spam that illegally enters our lives that makes us aware of certain pharmaceutical products that in verbosity, as the old gorilla, they promote. So it strikes me that to achieve the rule of law, to be so crazy that we want to see social media be governed under, part of it is educating clients around appropriate tactics, because you could still have that 800-pound gorilla marketer saying, I'll guarantee you 1 million emails, 1 million YouTube views, and so on and so forth. And those guys do exist. They just don't appear on panels. So they're breaking the law.
So two things because it's fascinating. First of all, 10,000 videos today will go up on YouTube, 175,000 new blogs. It's pretty tough to make anything just resonate by thrown against the wall, unless it is an ultimate train wreck, when somebody's, because humans still like the circus freak, right? So take that aside. So now you're saying, okay, so your point of view is if you do want to do it, you can manipulate the system. Isn't that what marketers have done forever by the fact that they just I bought Jackie Gleason, I bought Friends, I found a way to put my product, my cereal into Seinfeld's cover. What's different?
It's my way of saying, if we don't provide leadership, or as Louis said, grow some, then the old style of marketing will, through brute force, push itself as the square peg through the circle hole into this world and ruin it for everybody. Because they'll corrupt the democratic potential, they'll make cynics amongst all the corporate leaders who could be doing this the right way, both in terms of their shareholders' profits and the consumer's benefit. And that's the risk, that not every ad exec is a Tony Chapman who really does see the economic and philosophical opportunity in doing things the right way. And that strikes me as a potential blind spot, that if we don't educate society, but explicitly our clients, as to why doing the right thing is better, as to why being ethical in a transparent society is the smart way to go, rather than some who are just going to say, fuck it, I'm going to be a manipulative jerk no matter what, and just hope that I never get caught.
So how do you do that, Josh? Because I think it's brilliant thinking. But if I look at what's happened in states, even in communication, as television went to cable, censorship disappeared. What was considered ethical viewing disappeared. As it went to satellite radio, You know, like Howard Stern was fine, whether you agreed with it or not. Second, he went on satellite, same microphone, same guy. All of a sudden, his show went on steroids, and they ignored it. So now this new thing's coming, even more complex, that you can operate from it's no longer pirate radio with me floating 3 miles off your shore, you know, like they did in the past to get around the BBC and the guidelines. This is about, I can operate this anywhere in the world. How do you police that? How do you stop that? Because that's the most frightening thing of any media, is manipulating it. Either by control, you know, like the Hearst model, I'll own it all, or, sorry?
I think the network self-polices. At a certain point, it will reach a point where it self-polices, and you saw that with search, with the black hat search tactics. Consumers started to smell that, and they know when they're on a link farm, I think, the more sophisticated users.
But
right?
I still get 20 pitches a week on how my SEO can be improved if I blah, 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 blah.
Do you even see that? It's just an invisible, it's like water, that stuff.
But I have a high amount of literacy. Maybe there are other people who fall prey to that, who go, yeah, I want to be the #1 hit on Google. How much do I pay you to make me that?
But is it beyond that? Is it not about measurement and about a new way of measuring social media? I think we need to shift the conversation from what is viral on social media. You know, like any new industry, you can't say we're going to measure it like traditional direct marketing. So, you know, people say to us, okay, give me the equivalent of social media in the same chart you would for every other piece of digital media, and you can't. So, I mean, how do you address, that's the question. I think you need to address, what are the metrics? What is that conversation worth? What is the fact I'm going to influence, I'm an influencer? What does that mean to?
But as soon as you put the emphasis on the metric, for example, if you're trying to create something viral out of the gate, one of our clients looked at a viral video that one of their competitors had created, and you know, a couple million hits it received. It was flawless, and they said, you know, why didn't we do that? We want to do that. And it's like, well, it takes about 4 months to do that. By the time there were a lot of moving parts to this thing, scripts would have to be written. Just because that camera looks shaky and amateurish, there's a lot of thinking that goes into it. And I told the client, if we came to you with this idea, the first question you're going to ask is, well, how many hits are we going to get? And 200 to 20 million, we don't know. So at that point, the idea would have been killed. Right?
And that, I totally agree that there's both advantages and disadvantages to the new conversation of metrics. But to me, clearly, it's a qualitative versus quantitative discussion. Right. That we place too much emphasis on quantitative measurement, whereas the qualitative is much more closely to the virtues of the space, which then brings me back, Tony, to your comment of how do we sort of achieve that point where we can regulate or police or protect our industry, the public, from these charlatans. And Louis, you're right that it's self-policing, but self-policing, I think, is a less clear way of saying it's culture. That there's a culture that exists in an industry that determines what's good or bad. Tiger Woods cheated on his wife, and as a culture, we frown upon that, and that's part of what diminishes his status and literally earning power. So what we need to develop, what we have yet to articulate, is an internet culture. It's unconscious. There are some of us with a high level of literacy who know it, who could wrap it off, but society, and more explicitly, the people with purchasing power and signing authority in enterprises, don't know it, tend not to know it. If you want me to point the finger as to whose fault that is, I'll right away say the government and politicians, because they're the elected leaders, and why we haven't had a royal commission on the internet that went across the country that asked everyone, what kind of internet do you want? That then would have allowed us to say, this is Canadian internet culture, here's how it works, it's fair, it's blah, 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 blah. And until we have that, we leave ourselves open to the charlatans and tricksters, and I think the current social media jargon is douchebag, who tend to corrupt these spaces rather than live up to the ethics and virtues that, as a whole, we ascribe to.